Welcome, Power fans. We are live in the Power office, which today was transformed into Draft Central for the West Bend Power in the NA3HL 2025-26 draft. I'm here with GM and Associate Head Coach Jeremy Ebert. Jeremy, how you feeling?
I feel good. I think we had a pretty good draft. We got the guys we wanted to. There's a couple guys that we may have missed on, but ultimately, we're happy with the guys that we took today.
Is the pressure off now? Was there a lot? There had to have been a lot leading up to this, a lot of homework, a lot of studying, a lot of watching film, a lot of talking to guys. Do you feel relieved now that this is over, or is this just the beginning?
I would say this is an everyday thing, right?
Okay.
You're talking to kids throughout the year, trying to make sure what kind of plans they have, what kind of backup plans they have. But it's an everyday thing, talking with their coaches, talking with their advisors, talking with the players themselves.
Whoa.
Jeez, chair got a little loose on me there. But I wouldn't say there was too much pressure, based on the season we had last year, the guys we got coming back, the players that we have tendered. The draft picks are more of our kind of long shots, right? We know that they're going to be talented to be playing up at the next level and are probably on the cusp of staying up there, but might need an extra year or half a year just to kind of develop, get used to a little bit of the speed, learn the game a little bit better. And then ultimately, we hope these guys are only here for a little bit and we can advance them right back up.
So before we get into the draft results, coming into the draft, you've got a pretty long list of tenders, following some of our social media, following specifically the West Bend Power recruiting page on Instagram. We're pretty regularly over the last, probably I'd say 2 months, seeing a lot of posts of tenders. Coming into the draft, how full would you say the team was?
Coming into the draft, we were pretty full. I would say this is probably one of the better years, making Fraser Cups back-to-back years and then making it to the finals, really help on the recruiting side. You get players that are like before that were on the cusp, were like, hey, I don't know if I want to come to play for you guys or play in the NA3, and then they realize like how well the NA3 itself has kind of developed players and advanced them to the next level. But it also kind of comes just down to us being with the right guys, and I think we have a really good group that we did come in here with our tenders. Usually I think we got 21 new guys coming in. Not all of them are going to be here right away. Not all of them are going to show up, but we have a really good feeling about that. So the draft made it a little bit easier, kind of a relief of saying, hey, we're going to go get the guys we really like, and if they show, they show. If they don't, we picked the right guys because we know they're good players.
So coming off of last year's draft, you had 5 picks, 2 of the players showed up and pretty well stuck all year. Obviously, a lot of success with Jackson Hoyme. Trey Shumless was here all year. Made the top prospects program out later in the year in Detroit
this year.
So 2 big success stories coming out of last year's draft. So do you come into this year trying to build off of that and say, let's try to up that and maybe we get 3 players? Or do you go, you know what, we hit a bullseye last year, 2 out of 5, that's a pretty big win. And you know what, if we can repeat that, or hey, if we don't get anybody, it's okay.
Yeah, at this point, we're okay if these guys don't show, right? We know what their talent level is and their abilities. But yeah, like going after last year, it's great that these guys did ultimately have to come down here and play. They got the great exposure playing for our team, making the top prospects. And we hope, like, if any of these guys do come down here, that they kind of fill in those same shoes as them. Like, hey, you're good. You're going to be on a great team. You're going to get more exposure, ability to, in our area, a lot of the NAL teams, a lot of D3 schools within the area. So we're hoping just to kind of build off that, but not necessarily looking like, hey, they have to come here and we are expecting them to be a top prospect.
Yeah, fantastic. So coming into the draft, we had 3 picks. We had a first-round pick, a second-round pick, and a fourth-round pick. We used our third-round pick last season to acquire a couple of players from El Paso.
Yep.
Tyler Kowalchuk, Jake Sherry. You give up that draft pick, and how valuable are draft picks when you start looking at trades on both sides of it? How valuable are you to them? How valuable are they to you to hold on to, and how valuable are they as trade bait?
Going into like value for us, we hold some value to them just based on you have the, like I've talked before, like the kids that are very talented and aren't quite sure, like, hey, do I want to sign a tender or not? And some guys don't, which is totally fine too, because they know that they have an opportunity somewhere else at the next level at the time. So to the value to hopefully have them drop down to us for a little bit just to kind of help them get used to the game and then move them right back up. That's pretty much the value of them or us holding on to those. In the trade market world, it's kind of hit or miss. There's certain teams that utilize them, certain teams that don't. So it's kind of a 50-50 with those. But they do help kind of make trades a little bit easier. Like, hey, I got a first-round pick that I can also throw in to help you get a better player kind of into our organization.
Fantastic. So that first-round pick, we were sitting at pick 33?
Pick 33.
Okay.
Yep.
What did we end up doing at pick 33?
At pick 33, we went with Grant Gosselin, defenseman from the Cleveland Barons U18 team. I've talked with him, and he's going right now. He is tendered with Lone Star in the Null. So we're just kind of seeing how that plays out. I wish him the best and all of our guys that are on those cusp of making those teams and signing tenders to really make those teams. But we all ultimately just really want to be their backup plan. But he's a big player. We kind of learned, a lot of our draft picks were bigger guys. We learned making it to the finals last year that Louisiana, I don't think they had one player under 6 foot. Not necessarily saying that guys under 6 foot can't do anything, because we have a handful of them that are excellent skill players for us and have made big impact plays for us throughout the year. So we kind of went a little bit bigger with him. So we can't really complain about that. Add some size to us.
Yeah, for sure. And then we go into round 2, and we had the 70.
That would have been the 74th pick, I think.
Yep.
73rd, one of those two. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm not 100% sure on it.
And where'd we go there?
That one we went with Benjamin O'Leary, a kid from Bemidji, Minnesota. I've had conversations with him. He's just like some of these other guys that are kind of figuring out where they want to go, if they're going to make opportunity. And he's got opportunities in other leagues as well. But he's another big player for us, has the ability to score, and kind of take up some room on the defensive end, if he needs to on the wing or at center, depending on where we depend to play him. But again, we're bringing in a little bit more size to us on the forward front. His ability to kind of chase down defensemen, be able to give that big hit and make another play for someone like a support guy to come in and pick the puck up and give us an opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, obviously last season we started the season with Oliver Schroeder. Ollie moved on to the Janesville Jets. He's doing fantastic there. Had a really great season. He stopped in one of the late season games, and sounds like he's really enjoying his time there. And that's ultimately the franchises, the West Bend Power franchise's goal is to develop these players and get them to move up to the next level. And we had a lot of success with that last year. Both in guys temporarily going up and coming back and temporarily going up, and to multiple franchises too. I mean, we had the Wendigo, we had Watertown Shamrocks,
Minnesota Mallards. We've also had a few other teams that called about players, but ultimately they chose not to go there just based on how old they were, what was left in the season, and kind of figured out, hey, I just want to be able to play the game and play in all sorts of different aspects of the game. So, but yeah, going in like those guys, we've a lot of call-ups. We've now had 3 players commit Division III this year. So looking at Tommy Kundinger committed to Beloit College. That was formerly Northland College. Kelly Coldwater that we ultimately acquired in a trade towards the end of right around that deadline time. He's committed to go play at Westland State University out east. And then we have our goaltender, that was goalie of the year, MVP, has been here before, missed a little bit of year because he was up playing at the next level and ultimately needed to come down here to really show that and be able to play it in games and big games and play in a lot of them.
Yep.
And he ultimately went to St. Mary's over in Minnesota. So 3 D3 guys, and then I would say, I don't know the top number, but I think we had 6 to 7 call-ups, to certain teams.
And Luca Weinkoff as well signed.
Luca is now, he signed out to Division I at Illinois State. We do have a couple other guys that are kind of still trying to figure out, going through the process of applying for school, see if they can get in, see what kind of financial aid, all those kind of things. So we're still waiting on a couple other guys.
Very, very successful season. I mean, take away the wins and losses, take away the Frazier Cup, but as far as developing players and developing young men, which I know is something that you and Coach Woods talk about a lot as, one of your primary goals. I mean, just a massive success from last season.
Yeah, no, 100%. And with the way that we've talked is you don't win games unless you're developing the players you have, right? And then once you develop those players to a certain aspect, like Ollie, like a Will McDonald that was here, or Jackson Hoyme, Jace Fitzgerald that have signed null tenders, right? Like we've helped develop them here. Now they go on to the next level. But we also have already developed the guys that were underneath them, right? And now they get to step in their shoes. And now it's not such a big learning curve for them, right? We already know, like, hey, we've taught these guys for the year. We have you for a year. And now we just kind of slowly move up the, the ladder for them and continue to just develop guys and continue to win. You know,
Yep.
that's winning's always fun, but you got to develop kids first.
That's awesome. Then we go into round 4. Like I mentioned earlier, we didn't have a round 3 pick. And round 4, we had one pick coming into the 4th round, and the phone started ringing.
Yeah, so there's a couple guys still left on our draft board that we really felt could be an impact here if they ultimately had to come play here. So we kind of, phones were ringing. We were reaching back and forth between a couple teams trying to figure out who's going to give us a good deal or what kind of deal we wanted to work out. Ultimately, we worked out a deal with Sheridan. We ended up getting their 4th round pick, which was only 4 picks ahead of our original pick. So we kind of knew our gap and figured out, all right, hey, like if these guys aren't going to take them, we should be able to get them at our next pick. So it's always nice to kind of have draft day like that too, like where you get a little bit more involved rather than just selecting players, but having conversations with other coaches, trying to figure out like, hey, are you looking to try to move up a little bit or move back? Something more like the NFL draft style, NHL draft. Like there's a lot of those kind of things, and it makes the day a little bit more fun and interacting, rather than just kind of sitting here.
I know you've mentioned before that's one of your passions or one of your favorite pastimes is doing franchise mode in Madden or whatever a game, and you get a lot of enjoyment out of that. So I'm sure when that phone starts ringing, you flip that switch and all right, let's make a deal.
Yep. You keep the phone on, ringer on, and you never know what it is. It could be the wife texting or some other group chat from some buddies, or it's all coaches, right? And sometimes you don't have all the coaches' contact info, so you got to answer every call. Sometimes you might answer the call and it might
Serious
be a
XM.
scam. Yeah, you're like, all right, but ultimately it made the day a little bit more fun and kind of be interacting with other teams and just got to have that fun with it.
So 4th round, we ended up getting 2 picks. You said the 144th and the 148th, and where did we go there?
With the 144th pick, that's the pick we ultimately got from Sheridan. We jumped in and grabbed Grady DiEmbrio. I'm not sure if that's 100% how it's pronounced or not, but
we'll find out.
A forward from Rockridge High School. We've kind of talked. He's played on the NIT tournament up in Minnesota for the Minnesota seniors. I was up there on Thursday, was able to watch all the games that day. But he brings in a lot of size and strength. He's a big boy. Having him go into the corners and stuff, he came out with the puck a lot of the times. And didn't, he's not by any means like super flashy. He's got the kind of guy that's going to grind it, and I think that's why ultimately he was a great pick for us, because if he does come here, we know what we're going to get out of him, and then he's going to really be able to show his abilities and then advance him to that next level. I really think he has that capacity to get there.
Fantastic. And then at 148?
148, we took a local, Wyatt Earnhardt from Middleton High School, also TW. Team Wisconsin, but his point production in the state of Wisconsin was great. Middleton doesn't play too many slouch teams. They're playing against some high-end talent. And then also him playing on Team Wisconsin, playing in the Elite League. He's put up numbers in production there, as well as up at the NIT tournament when I was up there. I liked his game. He's got some speed. He's got some really good skill. I think, eventually coming here if he has to, or, just wherever he is. I believe he's Odessa. Null tender, all he really has to do is add a little bit more size to him, and I think he's going to be able to stick, and he can make it to some good places.
Well, we got some great billet families that feed our players well. We got a very nice fitness center, and if that's what we need, we're gonna take care of them. So to all 4 players, Grant, Benjamin, Grady, and Wyatt, welcome to the West Bend Power family. Obviously, we hope that you'll find success wherever you end up. And we obviously hope it's here in West Bend, where we love to pack the barn and play some successful hockey, and hopefully, get back to that Fraser Cup and have a different outcome this time.
Yeah, you never know. It's a brand new season. Now that we have everybody, there's opportunities for free agents. Going through some main camps, finding some loose ends there, and be like, hey, we'd love to have you. But it all comes down to how much the guys are willing to put in, right? Like us as coaches is only can teach them and show them so much. And then it ultimately falls into their hands of how much am I going to put into the weight room? How much am I going to jump on any extra ice or in the film room, shooting room, things like that we have here to offer for players to really get that development. But like I said, it's all into what they can do with their time here.
Draft day is complete. What's next?
Right now, a little bit of a little vacation, a little trip, kind of relax a little bit. I actually next week I go to North Carolina for a little bit of a golf trip.
Okay.
my buddies and family kind of always go on, but it's usually about the only time I really get off. You know, I just finished spring hockey.
Yep.
You know, I had your son on my team.
Yeah.
You know, those kids got to go out there and play against some really high-end kids,
Yes, they did.
some bigger, older kids.
Yes,
but they
did.
got to learn like what it's going to be like eventually, right? Like they get to go, they're going to be first-year Band-Ms, get to understand like, hey, this is hitting, and now they shouldn't be scared when they do come into the season because they're like, I played against way bigger guys, way stronger guys. So I hope they learned a little bit of lessons there. But with that being over, you know, that's always kind of nice. Kind of, you know, I talked to you after the Fraser Cup, right after we lost. I said, yeah, when's that spring hockey start? He goes, tomorrow. And I was like, oh, man. All right, no break for me. But I get a little bit of time here in May and some June time. But I also got to do a couple things with Wisconsin Wendigo, coaching up in Blaine for the spring festival up there.
Okay.
You know, we have a U18, U16 team. You know, a lot of good talent is going to be up there. It's during the Robertson Cup. So, and hopefully our affiliate, Wisconsin Wendigo, you know, I wish them best of luck. They're going to play up against Alaska here, one of the Alaska teams, and you know, hopefully they get through and we can be watching them up there at the Robertson Cup.
That is a best of 3?
They play best of 5.
Best of 5,
Yep,
okay.
best of 5 up there in the north.
And that's a semifinal round, if I remember correctly?
Yep, semifinals.
And has the series started yet?
Nope. I believe first game is Friday night, Friday and Saturday night up in Eagle River.
Okay. So best of luck to Wisconsin Wendigo and former Power head coach John Mitchell. Hope to see you guys. Is there Robertson Cup? Is that in Blaine?
Yep,
Okay.
it is at Blaine. Yep, and at the Schwann's Cup there.
Okay, fantastic. Coming off of R&R, you're going to come back to the rink. We're going to have new ice in, and the Power Up Skills Camp will begin in early June, I believe.
I believe June 17th.
Okay.
I think June 17th or 15th. I got to double check, but the ice comes in a couple days before we jump on there.
And that is an opportunity for youth skaters all the way up to
All the way
juniors?
up to over to juniors. Last year we had an older group, high school, junior, college, a couple college kids that came back and then played with us or kind of went through the camp. We also allowed them to kind of work with the camp, work with the kids, be able to kind of get that understanding of how coaching works, so they can understand when they go back what their coach is trying to, you know, get across to them. But yeah, so the juniors groups all the way down to our mites group. Last year, I believe, you know, as our first year, we ended up getting right around 100 kids. So I'm looking probably this year. I think it's going to be a little bit above that, just based on a lot of good things we've heard. Parents have talked great. You know, so, and our kids have gotten better. We can definitely tell the kids that were in our camp were the kids that were much better, you know, going into their season.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were really still developing that program last year. We threw it together. I don't want to say last minute, but it came together very quickly. We had to put together our off-ice training, and we were literally still putting flooring in the day the camp started. So it was definitely an undertaking, and kudos to you and your coaching staff and all the former players or current players that you had helping out, and hope to see a lot of them back this year. And yes, I can absolutely say that it was a wild success last year. Everybody that I talked to really enjoyed the camp and got a lot out of it. So hopefully we can have the same success this year with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's all we got.
Huh? I think that's good. A little R&R time.
Yep. I will. We'll sign off here today. You can go get your golf clubs ready, get them polished up, and get ready to go hit the links.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna go to the range and get warmed up.
All right, Coach and GM Jeremy Ebert, thank you very much for your time today, and looking forward to the 25-26 season already.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on here.
Be well.
You as well.
Have a good day, Power fans.